Hi, everybody. I am Lee Prado. I'm the director of strategy. And I'm here with my friend, author Carlos Valenzuela. Carlos is a longtime contributor to Modern Salon. He's been many things in his life. He's been an educator, a stylist, a platform artist, a motivator, and he is sincerely an inspiration. Today, in part of the series we're putting together for Modern Salon, we're going to be discussing Carlos's third book, and this has special resonance to this community. It's called Magical Thinking in Hairdressing. I'm going to just trust me. There we go. And Carlos, welcome. And I'm going to start right in with a question.
Okay.
What's magical thinking?
One more time.
What is magical thinking?
Oh, what is magical thinking? Actually, magical thinking is a word that I attached to what is called creative thinking, because it is magical for me and for many of my peers. It's a magical way of thinking. It's a creative way of thinking. It's seeing things in the whole picture versus a very linear, step-by-step approach, kind of like a tunnel vision. I mean, it's pretty much accepted that these are the two big ways to think. You either go step by step, very logical, and get to no deviations, a bit traditional perhaps, or you go kind of all over the place, which is what makes us creative. We see so many options. A good example of magical thinking is that when a client comes in and sits in your chair, you imagine not just the one style that she might decide she thinks she wants or suggests. You see many, right? So magical thinking is creative thinking, and it's an important thing for us to understand as salon professionals. It was an important thing for me to understand, because when you're a magical thinker, because you don't seem to be on target, you are everywhere, you can be hard on yourself. You can actually be bad on be shame yourself a little bit because you think you don't have it together. And I give the example in the book, and about growing up, and my brother and I, who was 4 years older. My father was a cattleman in Mexico, and my brother, ever since he was born, I suspect, he knew he wanted to follow my father's footsteps. He wanted to be a cowboy, and he ran around the house on a broom, riding it, and he wore cowboy hats, and he did all this stuff. And I had no clue, no idea what I wanted to do, what I wanted to be. But I recognized, and this is where I think the insecurity comes in, that it was a good thing, even at that early age, to know what you're going to be, because my brother got all kinds of accolades because he was so convinced. And so I would say, I'm going to be a priest one day, and the next day, I'm going to be a doctor, really. But then the third day, I really think it's going to be a trapeze artist. That's what I'm going to be. And my grandmother put it succinctly. I remember Nana, she said, well, when Jesus grows up, my brother, he's going to have his ducks all in a row, organized, getting everything together. And little Carlos, well, he's going to have happy ducks, but they're going to be confused, wandering, and looking for a leader all the time. And that's why it's important for every creative person, I think, to understand magical thinking, or what I mean by magical thinking, because the better we understand ourselves, the more we accept ourselves, and therefore the more we get done, and ultimately the happier we are. You know, you need to be yourself. It doesn't matter if others do not accept you, as long as you accept yourself. So magical thinking is thinking big time. It's thinking everywhere. And it's exactly how most of hairdressers think. We think creatively. That's what makes us wonderful.
Well, keep on with that, Carlos. How are salon professionals magical?
Salon professionals are magical because we, as I said, we have the ability to see a lot more options and have a difficult time in many ways with structure. And the reason it's important for me, it was important for me to understand I was a magical thinker, is to sort of get the monkey off my back that I wasn't good enough to be successful, or I wasn't good enough to make it or be number one or whatever, because I didn't seem to, I was so all over the place. So you understand yourself better, and you can do it because you need a little bit of focus. So what the magical thinker needs, and what the book is about, the premise, is that embrace the fact that you are a magical thinker. I think that's wonderful, and I would rather be a magical thinker than not. The world does not have enough magical thinkers. We need more and more magical thinkers. And embrace the fact that you are a beautiful, creative, magical thinker, that you could create hair, that you could create beauty, that you could paint, probably a painting, or carve a beautiful statue, or create a wonderful meal, or like me, in my fourth career, you could turn your creativity to writing. That's all wonderful. Hug that really close to your heart, but add structure to it. In other words, don't let it just be a buzz or an awareness or something you do. Add structure to it. And one way to explain how a magical thinker can go through life and leave a lot of cash on the table, to put it any other way. I mean, we don't seize on the opportunities to convert our creativity into wins for us. We just think that's just the way it is. So imagine, Anne, that someone said to you, um, I am going to show you a room that you can walk through, which is a treasure room. It is filled with things that you want. It's got all kinds of stuff. It's got money, opportunity, jewels, clothes, trips, all kinds of food, and you're gonna walk right through it and then exit the other way and choose what you want. And a magical thinker, and a hairdresser specifically, would probably stand at the front of that room and walk into the room and just go, oh, look at that. Oh my God. Oh my goodness. Look at how great that is. How great that is. How great. And get to the end of the room and have nothing. Because we were so immersed in all of the ideas and all of the things that could be possible that we didn't grab anything for ourselves. And to bring it into context for hairdressing, it's like going to a hair show, and you go to a hair show and it's Disneyland of magical thinking. Think about it. There's hairdressing, there's new styles, new colors, new techniques, product, people looking incredible. And you go through the hair show and you come out at night and you say, oh, that was fun. Or before you go to the hair show, you have a little structure. You realize, you understand that you are distracted by shiny objects. And you say to yourself, I'm not going to leave the hair show without learning one new haircut, without learning one new color technique that I can bring back to the salon and use and on my clients and do on my clients. And then you go there and you have now combined your magical thinking with structure.
Well, Carlos, in your book, and I don't know if this is the right segue, but you also talk about rituals. And structure and rituals, I mean, I think of them as sort of a collaboration here. What do you think rituals are, and why are they important?
Rituals in the book are referred to as kind of like a fancy word for habits. Rituals, because the magical thinker, as we said, needs structure in order to capitalize on their great gift. Structure requires discipline. And we magical thinkers are allergic to discipline. We don't really like discipline. The proof of it, widespread in the industry, and is the fact is independent or booth rental. You know, I am here to remember when booth rental first began. Many of my readers and modern salons readers are too young to remember that at one time the industry was all commission. I mean, you either went commission or you didn't work. And when it began, the Salon Association and many salon owners did studies, did marketing research on the benefits between being in a salon commission and being independent or booth renting. And they had abundant proof at the time that staying with a salon commission structure actually gave you just as much or more money than going independent. That, and they, you know, provided a lot of promotion on that in order to perhaps stem the flow, the outflow of people that were trained and worked for them. But people did not, hairdressers did not leave the salon because they wanted more money. They left because they were magical thinkers. They left because they wanted less structure. They wanted less discipline. They wanted to do their own thing. That is the probably key example of how magical thinking affects our lives. Now, so what? What do we take home from this? What we take home from this is if you are working in a commission salon, make sure that you understand the difference. And if you still, what you think you want is freedom, make sure you have a plan that supports you, because it's going to be dramatically different. And in some points, you may start off not making money. So magical thinking, you know, hairdressers, we really don't sometimes read instructions. Many people are very good about it, but many times we just go, oh, I know how to do this. And so magical thinking, again, it's important to understand it, not because you are going to change completely and you're going to become a different person. No, but I think we need to understand ourselves better and better. And if I may say so, Anne, I think one of the things we have in common, you and I, through so many years of working together, is I think we secretly like to understand ourselves better. That's why we are so drawn to new concepts. That's why I do so much research. That's why I write, and that's why I'm so active on social media with sayings, with observations, with it. I mean, and sometimes they're new, sometimes they're not. But the real gist of it is that I'm trying to figure out more about myself. And when I do, I think you might want to know because we have more in common than we're different. And that's why you, as a magical thinker and a hairdresser, and people watching this should, I shouldn't say should read my book, but they should get into the idea that their creativity has a downside. And the downside is lack of focus. And if you focus on your creativity with structure, with what you want to get out of it. I am going to do this haircut. I'm going to get in the flow and create this amazing haircut on this client because I want to bump up my prices. I mean, let's just be candid. I want to make sure she understands, or he, that this is no ordinary haircut. This is a haircut that is crafted amazingly and suits her incredibly. That's why I am going to do such a good job. I'm not just going to do a good job because it's cool.
Carlos, I I want to talk because I do like that you talked about getting into the flow with the haircut. And you talk about flow in your book. First of all, how do you describe flow? And then how do you think hairdressers get into flow? And maybe why is flow important? State of flow. That's what O does.
So we're actually doing a very good job of going through the whole book, and because when you focus, in other words, when you realize you're a magical thinker and you accept the fact that you're going to try to find something for you, or let's say try to be selfish and say, okay, I'm going to do this creative, wonderful creative color and thing because I want fill in the blank. When you do that, you focus. And when you focus, if you really focus, you are in the moment. You are in right now. You can't be focusing and thinking about yesterday. You have to be right here, which is mindfulness. And if you get into the focus of doing your creative work, you get into the flow, which people also call it in the zone. People that jog or that run used to use that word a lot. I haven't heard it recently, but they say getting in the zone or into the zone because they're running and it's like a high, and the high it allows them to go further and time goes by without noticing it. But the flow or the zone is not just limited to that. Hairdressers get into the flow. Hairdressers, I mean, every hairdresser watching this is going to think of the haircut, maybe the last one they just did, where they started the haircut at 10 o'clock and they book every hour on the hour. And they started, they got into it, and they blinked and it was 11 o'clock. And they had this wonderful creation in front of them. And hopefully they balanced it with what's in it for them, and they were able to charge more or whatever you want, retain the client or impress that first client so much that they book for another appointment. You must know what's in it for you in your creativity, or otherwise life is going to pass you by like you walking through the treasure room. You have to focus. You have to be a little selfish. That's the other way to put it.
Yeah, this is practical magic. Uh,
Yes.
you know, something you've written about for modern, you've taught this, you educated around money, financial, a little bit about financial management as it relates to stylists. Now, how should the topic of building wealth be approached?
Mhm. One of the things that I speak about often, and you've heard me speak about this, is that I really dislike the idea of hairdressers getting to the end of their career with very little to show for it financially. And this is not a popular topic because everybody thinks it's not going to happen to them, but it does. It happens all the time. I mean, I can't tell you the number of times I unfortunately contributed to a hairdresser's funeral or medical expenses, which, and you know what is so very weird about that is that there were no outward signs that there was any kind of struggle or deficiency. It just, you know, they just showed up every day like everyone else. And building wealth is also something that is in the treasure room and that we can go right past looking at something else. Because when you're a hairdresser and you're busy, there's a lot of money flowing. I mean, you know, you charge $50, $75 just for a haircut, and colors go up to the hundreds. And there's money coming in, coming in, coming in. And it creates this aura of abundance. And it is abundant. But how much of it is staying with you? So one of the things that is the biggest drawbacks of magical thinking without structure is the inability to capitalize on the money you make and your lack of thinking of where do I want to be when I'm 65 and what do I need? You know, if you're in your 20s or even 30s, that's 30 years ago. Well, we'll figure it out later, but you have to figure it out now as soon as you can. So the way to begin wealth building is not by saving money. And when I say that, I said that in my first webinar, and people went, "Oh, what do you mean? You know, isn't building wealth all about saving money?" Yeah, but have you ever saved money and just spent it? Yeah. Okay. So then we're going to take a deep breath and take a step back, and we're going to decide that the first step to wealth building is decide what you can live without. What can you give up? Make a list of all the things you can give up, because building wealth, unless you are making just thousands of dollars every month, you're going to have to work with less. You're going to have to live below your means in order to have that 20%, those $20, whatever it is, to put away. So if I had to do a wealth building class, I would say the very first step that we're going to do is, what do you like the most about your life? Make a list, and I would give some time. And then after that, now cross out the things that you can live without, and especially the material things. And within that is going to be your first step to building wealth. Because all of a sudden, at the end of the month, guess what? You're going to have money left over. And now we're talking.
Carlos, I know we need to wrap up. We've covered a lot. I mean, the way that somebody can get the most out of our discussion is by following along. In the copy and text that I will include with this post, I'll make sure everybody knows where to get the book, how to get the book, how to reach you, how to follow you, because you are not just writing books, but as we mentioned, things that come up for you every day. I don't want to get cut off I don't want Zoom to cut us off, but tell me quickly, Carlos, what's one takeaway, the number one takeaway from magical thinking?
The one takeaway that I would say is for anyone that reads the book is balance. And I would like for you to just remember in your mind that yin yang logo that's half black and half white, and it's intersected like that together. And everything you do creatively, get a little selfish and say, what am I going to take away from this? Doesn't have to be material, but there has to be a purpose for doing it. And then you're going to have some stuff that you do just for the heck of it. But a great deal of what you do needs to have structure. And you will be a very happy, magical thinker.
Thank you so much for your time, for your wisdom, for your friendship. And I look forward to more discussions through the year.
Yes, yes. And they can always go on Amazon. This is actually the only place you can find the book. And or follow me on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, and we can chat some more.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and very, very kind, and I wish you the best.